Emerge, साथ हमारा, सफलता आपकी. The SME Growth Platform from India's largest stock exchange.
White shirts, कितने plain और simple. Fog scent, plain और simple white shirt को बना दे special और fashionable. Fog scent, new fashion wear for men.
Ayush, it's funny how many of our shows involve road trips.
But Alex, this is no ordinary road trip. We've done road trips around the country, but this one's special because we are in the national capital region for the first time on this show.
And the objective that we have this time around is to technically at least cover 3 states.
Well, 3 states and definitely 3 cities. And the way we do it makes it even more special, Alex, because we're not going to cover it in an ordinary way. I must inform you guys that Alex has been going through this Captain Planet sort of phase where he is very, very, very conscious and very responsible about the environment, which all of us should be. And he's told me that we can't take a gasoline car, we can't take an internal combustion engine, we need to travel in an eco-friendly way.
Well, that's essentially what everyone's talking about. Everyone's talking about electric mobility and how's the future of mobility, not just in India, across the world. But the Indian government has a very ambitious plan about electric mobility. And that's essentially what the talk of the town has been over the past couple of days at the Auto Expo. Everybody, all automakers involved, either had a vehicle or didn't, but they were all talking about electric mobility.
Or they had a concept which happened to be electric.
Yes.
But there's several issues when it comes to going all electric, and especially in a country like India. And we thought Alex and I have spoken to a lot of people, but we have to experience it for ourselves across 3 different cities or regions.
Starting from Gurgaon.
And that's exactly what we're going to do. We can only keep our fingers crossed and hope that we have enough battery power to get us to our final destination.
Let's go.
Alex, is the car on?
It is on and we're moving, Ayush, and you can't hear it. It's very disconcerting because I'm used to hearing the sound of the engine.
Yeah, in fact, I enjoy the grunt of the engine. That's what makes me happy after a tiring day at work. That makes me feel like Speed Racer.
You remember when we were speaking to Tata Motors, Mayank Parikh said that he was considering putting a chip in the car to make it sound like the original car.
But Alex, those are some serious issues. Okay, we're obviously well within range to reach our destination. It's showing around 80 kilometers still to go. This thing can roughly take up to 150, 140 kilometers on one charge. Range anxiety is one thing. Batteries,
how fast it charges,
how fast it discharges.
And the cost of the vehicle.
And whether we find a charging station at all. Now I know we can stop at a few Mahindra showrooms to actually recharge this. There are a few with NTPC, there are a few charging spots. Even some offices have come up with something.
Not very well known.
I couldn't find anything on Google.
Not very well.
So we're completely naive about this. But we're trying and we're hoping that little button out there and it says 79 kilometers and we're hoping that that's true. But here's what Mayank Parikh had to say, that listen in to that entire conversation that Alex was just talking about. It's interesting, so we're talking about EVs, and there seem to be a lot of EVs, a lot of manufacturers. There's a whole illustrious panel of all of them over here. And this electric push by the government as well, and we know with the order with the ESL as well. So what is the update on that? And also, so do you see this as an industry perspective? Do you see this in the medium to long term? When do you see this becoming a lot more pervasive and ubiquitous, the use of EVs in India?
Very interesting question, Ayush. See, electric, according to me, is an idea whose time has come. Okay, and going forward, we'll see more of electric. Now, let's examine why electric is not. What are the speed breakers in electric vehicle? I think 3, according to me. First is the cost. Cost of battery is high. It is not affordable as of now. Second is range anxiety. People should know how long it can drive, etc. And third is charging infrastructure.
I think this car drives really beautifully. I'm used to my internal combustion engine, but it's I think for city driving it's really good to have.
Not just city driving, when you're stuck in the middle of nowhere in New Delhi in this traffic jam, then this must be very convenient. One, it's automatic. Two, well, it's electric. So you don't feel as guilty about driving it out. Wait, I didn't show that to you. But I think someone almost scratched me there. But that is Delhi traffic for you, Alex.
Absolutely. But speaking of, some of the automakers that were at the Auto Expo displaying what they had on offer, what is to come.
Yeah.
One of the electric products that was out there that's nearly production ready, that's being used in certain situations, is by Mercedes-Benz. They showcased a concept of their electric vehicle,
Which was a good looking car with no front grille. He says, who needs a front grille, right? That's what they seem to say. And also, Alex, let's remember that that's a concept which they're saying will be ready for roads around the world by 2019. And
So-
technically even for India.
So that's what he said, hypothetically for India.
Yeah.
And I think, he did talk about the reasons why he's perhaps not 100% sure. So let's see what he has to say. Mr. Folker, now, while we said right at the start that this seems production ready, you said that there are some cases where the car is already being used. How soon can it be brought to market, and particularly the Indian market,
Well, the big issue for us is at the moment we will have, starting 2019, the first of these cars and these type of cars ready to go into the international markets. In India, we are also, hypothetically speaking, ready. We liked very much the statement that was made that India will be electrified very soon. We thought it was a very courageous statement to go fully to 100% by 2030, because even highly developed, and with highly developed I mean not the typical definition, but the electricity definition, highly developed electric markets are not taking up such courageous statements. For us, the concern is simply we need to understand better in form of a policy, what is the government thinking, what are their plans? And with that, I mean specifically, what are their plans where the energy will come from? Can this energy be cleaner, and it should be cleaner, than the existing vehicles, which at the moment it is not? You still have challenges with the production of electricity in this market specifically. Then the other issue naturally for us is an environmental concern. What happens with the batteries? Where is the concept for recycling? And then third of all, is there some support, because these vehicles, especially in the ramp-up curve, will be very costly. Definitely luxury segment type of vehicles. And even, I mean, you look at the moment with the government deal that was 2.5 times as expensive as normal vehicles. Now, this needs to be covered and supported, hopefully, by the government. Right. This is where we're waiting for the policy eagerly in order to then make our plans also when can we come to India.
Okay, so Alex and I have decided to make this one stop, since we're in New Delhi, and be a little touristy. And what better place to stop at than this beautiful structure called India Gate, Alex?
Well, I've been used to seeing Gateway of India, so this is a pleasant change for me. But having said that, we've covered half the journey. We've still got another half to go. But the ride's been good.
Very smooth.
Very smooth. And it's a testament to what Mahindra has been able to do so far. It's the one company that actually got into the game very early. And we spoke to the management, and they said there are several more vehicles that are coming in.
Like the EKUV 100. That looked interesting, because that was out there for us to see at the Auto Expo. They had two really cool concepts as well.
They also had a bus and a three-wheeler.
So there's a lot.
It's essentially completing their portfolio. And
Absolutely.
it actually falls in line with the thinking the managing director, in fact, had said just a while back. He had commented and said that the electric vehicle push and the investments that the company is making are a leap of faith. So he's got the confidence that there will be more acceptance for electric mobility.
And of course, we also spoke at the Auto Expo to Mahesh Babu. He's the chief at Mahindra Electric, and he also weighed in on this whole debate that's raging in India when it comes to electric vehicles or EVs, which is direct charging versus battery swapping. Listen in. Everyone watching who couldn't make it to the Auto Expo, I must tell them that, well, like Mr. Babu was saying, there's an EKUV out there and a refreshed E2 as well. So the EKUV, when could we see this on Indian roads?
See, we have all, yeah, so I accept these two concepts which we have very clearly said it will be available soon in the market.
Right.
The EKUV, we are contemplating to be there in the market within a year.
Okay. Very exciting. But now, so that brings me to my next question. Alex, this is the same question in your mind. So these concepts, you've got to give us a little bit of a brief. This is a two-seater, the Udo, and this is, well, a three-seater, or maybe four if you're thin at the back. So what is the concept behind this, and how is this going to change the whole mobility concept for all of us?
Udo is a new concept, the way in which individuals or a couple of individuals travel in the city, urban city.
Right.
So it's like a comfortable vehicle which can be used personally as well as used for sharing in an urban city. So it's a very unique concept.
It seems like a sort of a meld between a car and a bike.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not a car, it's not a bike.
The width is
It's
as
not
much
a
as a cruiser bike, but
it's a very unique product which we feel will
Very
transform mobility in this.
And
Atom is a last mile connectivity vehicle. Right. We believe Atom is going to transform the way people travel in the last mile.
Okay.
So we believe that today the last mile is being dominated by three-wheelers and other mobility.
Yes.
Atom will transform the way people travel in the last mile.
Right. This is essentially trying to replace the rickshaw eventually.
It may not replace the rickshaw because we have launched the e-auto as well. We believe this will have a unique application in the urban way. Both of them will exist.
And so also perhaps when smart cities are perhaps a lot more in number, these could be very interesting concepts that you guys could tie up.
My last and final question. Fast charging or swapping, which do you think is a better idea?
I think fast charging is a very comfortable concept which is proved, but having said that, we should not discount swapping. Because India is a very unique place where you have from two-wheelers till buses. Whereas in other countries, you will have one or two of their products, not all of them. And hence we never know. Being a technology, anything which helps electric has to be tried according to me.
Well, so this is somewhat like the midpoint of our journey, Alex. And I must say this, you do seem a little tired, although you're only using one foot and perhaps most of the time you're using only one hand.
Yeah, it's because I'm not really used to driving an automatic and an electric. So I kept going for the clutch and I didn't find it there.
But everyone, Alex, seemed to be divided at the Auto Expo, and people in India on the whole, people who understand EVs and they like auto junkies as well, saying what works, direct charging, which is what we'd be doing, or battery swapping.
We got Mr. Babu to weigh in on that. And we also found another solution. So speaking about battery swapping, you want to swap with me? I'm a little tired.
I feel a lot safer now. What kind of challenges you'd really face in coming up with something like this? Because when we talk about electric all over the world, be it Tesla, it's always about, well, the cost of batteries and two, what kind of range you can get from it. This is a very unique take on it altogether. I mean, well, when the government's been saying we have this push to go electric, this is a very different sort of push.
Yeah. So yeah, you rightly said, 20 years working on EVs, I said, why aren't they taking off? We got to get costs right, we got to address range anxiety, and we got to address long refueling time. And an infrastructure that can be as seamless as gasoline, which means that people will not wait for more than 5 minutes, and people would like to buy vehicles that are cost neutral, and people would like to have energy costs that's similar.
Right.
So what we did is by actually separating out the batteries from the vehicles, you can actually get the cost of electric vehicles now to be cost neutral for the first time.
Right.
And then by looking at swapping it very quickly, you get its range anxiety.
Right.
So now you see inside here is our quick interchange station.
Right.
It's going inside, it's looking at robotically getting the battery from inside, pulling it out on this area. Now these batteries are smart batteries. Right. The smart batteries are far, far smaller. They're on 1/4 the size, which means there's a lot more space for passengers. Now these, like your mobile phone, are connected online, they can be upgraded over time. And so they possess the new areas of technology as we think about how we look at this front. Right. As a used battery comes out, it then is transformed into a slot that's available on the robotic station on this area, and a new battery can then come in to refuel it and go out. And the entire process is probably around 2.5 to 3 minutes. Now, interestingly enough, if you think of the station size and you look at it here on this front here, it's absolutely modular.
Absolutely.
Right? So what we could do is we can put a bunch of these stations very quickly. In fact, in a month we can set up a whole city. And each of these stations feed almost 20 buses an hour. Now, if you were to charge 20 buses, you need 20 times the space than what you would need for something like this.
Right.
So as cities go electric, we've got to think on the holistic solutions.
Absolutely.
So that's what we're doing here. We've got cost nailed, we've got infrastructure time frame nailed, right? And we've got the footprint nailed, which is very critical.
Right.
And the cool thing about the whole solution is that we're going to be using a lot of renewable energy to power it. And so that really transforms it.
Okay.
And with buses, where 60% of people spend their money, and each of these buses commute and pollute the most, the impact is going to be on where we look at it on this area.
Right.
So as you see, while we've been speaking, a new battery is coming, temperature control perfectly done. That's the smart battery, and that's going inside the bus as we speak on this front.
How economical is it, Chetan? Because that's the key question, really. And that's how you're going to get them to bite the hook, so to speak.
So, by getting batteries off the vehicles, you get buses to be cost neutral. Of course, you can't do that one or two, but as cities go to 500 or 1,000 buses, you can get them to be cost neutral. With the cost of renewable energy where it is today, you can get the solution on per kilometer basis to be equivalent. And with lower maintenance costs, we can finally give cities solutions that are cost neutral.
But the maintenance cost, Vinod, is the key, and that's really the biggest stumbling block in state transport per se. Will it face the same problems there?
Well, you can imagine, this is simply a 40-foot container. It's modular. You can put a 20-foot container or a 40-foot container depending on the number of buses. One of these can do 300 swaps in a day.
Okay.
So I don't need so many battery stations, so charging stations which take 3 or 4 hours to charge. You can just plug it, go ready, and I'm going to the next bus. This thing is stationary, and quickly I can do as many as I want. So if I have 100, maybe 3 of these would be more than sufficient to continue to do. It drastically reduces the amount of time spent inside the depot. It avoids the traffic congestion. And
you're constantly utilizing the network you have.
Absolutely. And depending on the route that the buses go, we could set it up in different places. When this is just a container, I could put it up wherever you want. Just put a connection to the grid, and then we have the power to recharge the batteries.
Hey Alex, it's been a smooth ride, huh?
Yeah, we made it to Noida. Nearly there.
Welcome to Noida, Singham. Oh, it doesn't say that, but it does say welcome to
But
Noida.
it does say, and it's the last leg of our journey. We're nearly there. But having said that, look, I think this is a beautiful car, and it's a good experience so far. But I still think that electric mobility has a long way to go, considering that we didn't really see too many charging stations. We didn't see too many electric cars on the road apart
Yeah, I
from
think I
ours.
saw maybe one other E2O. That's
yeah.
perhaps the only one. I think our camera person mistook it for ours in between as well. But I'll tell you something, Alex. It's a whole different ball game in Europe.
Yes.
Look at Norway, for example.
Yeah.
Look at what the government's done there. The public sector, the private sector getting together and coming up with so many incentives. You see the maximum number of Teslas perhaps in Europe in Norway.
Yeah, but the one key aspect of that is the fact that there are so many benefits for the people over there for using those electric vehicles. And we were talking about just that with the head of Renault's electric division.
Yeah.
And in fact, Renault, being the market leader in electric vehicles in Europe, knows what it's about. So listen in to what he says worked in Europe. We've talked to several automakers, and I think the conversation around electric is gathering momentum per se. But you've seen it grow as a leader in Europe in electric vehicles. You've seen it gather pace over there. Why has it caught pace so quickly in Europe, or rather, why has it grown so much in Europe, and why is it lagging behind in India? Is there something that we can take from there?
Yeah, I think Europe has started the EV program quite early, like China did, and that's why it really takes time, because it's not only us, a car manufacturer, bringing a new car on the market.
Right.
You really need to create a whole ecosystem, including mainly public stakeholders like government, cities, that would help to make things easier for the people who drive electric car, also involving electricity company, energy provider, to do the charging spot. So that's a whole ecosystem that we need to put together to make it work. I think that there is 5 major bricks to create this ecosystem. The first one is, of course, everything that comes to financial benefit. It's clear that this technology at this stage is still slightly more expensive. Of course, it will go the gap will go down with time, but still at this stage we need some support.
When battery packs cost a little less.
Exactly, and we consider we can reach the same cost between 2020 and 2025, depending on the size of the car and the size of the battery.
Well in time for India's electric push.
Exactly, but we need to start. We cannot wait 2020
Absolutely.
because it's such a change for the whole industry, for the society, that you cannot have a one big day where it all starts. You need to start step by step.
Right.
Second brick is all the benefits which are non-financial, but which make your life easier when you're driving an EV. It can be either free parking, it can be preferential spaces where you can park, all toll-free.
Or free charging.
Free charging, all things that basically make you happy to drive an EV, not only because you are bringing a contribution to help the problem of the planet, but also because in your everyday life, things are easier. That's the second brick. Third brick is the private infrastructure, charging infrastructure, means how you will charge. 90% of the time you will charge at home, on the office, and so you need to have a very simple process to install a charger. A charger is something simple, is not consuming a lot of electricity, it's like a oven or air conditioning, so very basic, but we need to have a very smooth process to install it, and of course local industry to manufacture those chargers in India. Fourth thing is public charging, and this is important, not necessarily in oil station that you have in your mind because you have your combustion engine car, but most probably in the places where you spend time. Either it is a movie, is it a supermarket, a restaurant, the malls,
Or your office space.
Or your office, of course, which is the best way to recharge simply. And the fifth element is clearly the big public fleets, which need to move to electric to show the example, to show that it can work. We have, for example, the largest EV fleet in Europe is the French Post Office, which drive 8,000 electric minivan, and everybody or most of the French people receive their mail every day with an electric car. That's a very trustful way to show that this technology is working.
The treasure, Eric.
Yeah, this is
something from the future.
The treasure which our design team has put together as a vision for the future of the industry. It's not a concept car showing one future model, precise model that we will launch.
You promise me I won't see this in the next Batman movie or Iron Man movie.
That could be a good idea. But,
no, but it is. So,
no, it's really showing the direction of our industry.
Right.
And two elements which are very important. Pleasure. Pleasure. A car is fun. When you buy a car, you have a lot of emotion. Yes. And this one is, I would say, the extreme emotion. And second, it's electric, and there is no doubt in all our team that the future of our industry is to be full electric.
Having said that, when I go to sleep tonight, I'm going to be dreaming of driving this car, for sure.
Well, Aayush, you know, a lot of the conversation so far has been about electric mobility, and rightly so. It's a righteous move. But, you know, perhaps along the journey towards electric mobility, one of the steps that could have been considered or could still be considered is the move to hybrid.
Spot on, Alex. Hybrid. Where has that word disappeared from the narrative? Remember when they're talking about the Prius coming here or the Camry hybrid? Even Mahindra tried with a few hybrid vehicles, and it never really took off. We've not seen so many on the road, and the narrative has changed. It's become, let's all go electric very soon in India. But what happened to hybrid vehicles?
I think to a certain extent, the plan to introduce hybrid vehicles took a hit after the introduction of the GST.
Absolutely, and that's precisely what one of the country's top manufacturers thinks as well. And this is what he had to tell us.
The conversation just a few months back with the introduction of the GST and the differential pricing, it seemed that the government was heading towards electrification directly rather than a step-by-step implementation towards electrification. Do you think really that hybrid should be given a push before electrification or electric mobility is embraced?
I think that's a natural step. You know, if we see the basic mathematics, government is talking about say 40% EVs by 2030. Now point here is, first of all, this 40% figure has to be appropriately endorsed by the market pull.
Right.
Even though OEMs may get into manufacturing of electric vehicles and they produce the vehicles, if there is not a market pull in terms of price, in terms of convenience of usage from charging point of view, then there may be a setback to this.
Yes.
Now, having said that, say the way market is growing as of now, if it continues to grow at the same pace, and I don't see any reason why it should not, the average annual sales by 2030 would be close to 10 million.
Okay.
So at 40% penetration of electric vehicles, still we'll have 6 million IC engine vehicles, which will be double of today's numbers, annual numbers. So now we have to take a call between a pure IC engine and a hybrid supported IC engine. Now, strong hybrid engine certainly gives about 20% lesser emissions, and it gives much better fuel efficiency. So all this put together makes a very strong case for the hybrid route. That is one point from environment friendliness point of view. Second point would be that if we adopt a hybrid route as a stepping stone, then we would be gradually enhancing the usage of lithium-ion battery.
Okay.
It will go into a higher level of mass production. So the chances of cost reduction through mass production would be very high. So it will strengthen government's case of moving towards EVs further.
Well, Ayush, it's been a long journey.
It's been an interesting ride, and it's taken us a good 3 hours to get from Gurgaon through Delhi, central Delhi, and then here to Noida.
All the way to Noida. We still have about 40% left.
Which is not bad. We didn't have to stop at a charging station. We can charge it here, but we didn't need to. So maybe we can go deeper into UP.
At this point, I think my batteries at least are a little lower than 40%.
Absolutely.
My phone is nearly dead.
So let's actually let the car charge overnight and charge our phones and of course our own batteries. Thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned to Bloomberg Quint.